math, right, this is hard. Okay, it took me a very long time to understand. Okay, so it's understanding that it can be quite confusing. Okay, I never had it also. Yeah, I told you when I tried to understand.
Slowly. Yeah. But if anything, I just rely on the first one at least. Yeah.
Okay. Then next one is the expense method. Okay, this one is more basically it was mentioned just now. Okay, this one you have to use every formula. Yeah. Then it's about the same. If you all sort of understood what Elijah mentioned, this is also the same thing. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, before that, we go back first. Before that, okay, so how to calculate years of retirement is retirement age minus current age. So you all know lah. Yearly income, okay, is is given. But why is present value 0? Why is present value 0? It's because we are not even adding any cash flow now. We are not even getting any income now. It's just 0. Okay, yeah, the current cash that is invested into income replacement is 0. Okay, yeah, then we go next. Yeah, so years to mortality, right, is just mortality age minus current age. But of course, the client can also choose their own mortality lah. Like if they think that they will die at 90 or 95 or 100 or even 70, up to them lah. But 70 is a very low estimate lah, okay, for most people, right? So if I say them, okay, this rationally doesn't make sense if you just put 70 lah. Must plan for longer ma, okay? Yeah. Basic expense is how to calculate basic expense. How do you know or how do you calculate or what? Where do you get this number?
From fact finding.
So how to fact find? Yeah, but how? Where? What tools?
Use the Excel sheet.
Another Excel sheet, the overview template lah, okay? From there you just write all the basic things. So there's a basic and there's a one, like there's a basic need and there's a others expense, right? Yeah, so you just take the basic one, at least the minimum to survive. Food, transport, utilities. Okay? Same thing, present value is 0. We are not even starting any value now. Okay? Yeah. Anyway, this method, maybe will go through another time one.
Is it?
Yeah, yours are protection, right?
No, Andre is protection.
Oh. You are
I'm
on?
doing savings.
Savings, sorry, okay. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So now we take an example. Okay. Let's say you have this guy, income 5k a month, okay, age 30. Desired retirement is 65, okay, 35 years ago. Expenses, you fact find already 1.5k a month, okay, and his investments or fixed returns is 2.5%. Okay, so this one I mentioned just now, inflation is based on your past records of BRS, okay, that's how we based on inflation.
Okay, so must explain why BRS. This slide is fine. So why BRS?
Why BRS?
Why do we use BRS for inflation rate? Or what from BRS? How do we even derive 3.5?
The incremental every year.
The increment of BRS every year, right? 3.5. But why do we then take BRS? Why do we take the increments of BRS?
Because it excludes like owning a car or things like that.
Okay, so you all got the gist, okay, but of course when you explain to clients, it must be more convincing, right? So you can ask, normally I ask clients this way, okay? So you all can listen to the recording or write down some notes now. This way that I ask people, okay? So remember, Brian, okay, there's core inflation. There's also headline inflation. There are many different types of inflation. How do we know which inflation rate to use for our retirement? Or in this case, TPD, we agree that disability is as good as retiring. You cannot work for the rest of your life. TPD is you are forced to retire. So what inflation rate do we take? Core or headline?
What is just now the second one? You say what inflation is that?
Core inflation
Core
or
what?
headline inflation?
What is that headline?
So I ask people they usually don't know
Yeah.
Headline is everything
Headline how to spell?
Headline, like just-
H-A-D-L-I-N-E.
Yes.
Headline.
Correct.
Never heard before.
Company does inflation general inflation all sorts of things. General inflation is everything Headline is whatever makes the news in a sense, or whatever the most important thing or the most succinct things right? Okay, but it's not weighted. Core inflation is weighted. right? It is weighted, meaning that if there is more on housing but it's important, then it will just weigh there lah, okay? But it's still mainly important goods and services, basic needs usually.
This one basic.
Core.
Huh?
Ah.
This is core, right?
No, so why do we not? Okay, so I asked the person, the person will say core, right? I'll say no. We don't need to use. We're not supposed to use core. We're also not supposed to use headline. We're also not supposed to use general inflation. Why? Because core inflation, yes, is basic necessities, but it includes education. It includes housing. Right? So does a retiree need to educate themselves further? Maybe lah, but most of them don't need lah, okay? You disabled already, you still go take exam lah. No lah, probably not lah. Okay? So you don't need to care education anymore. Or if you are a retiree, you don't need to further educate yourself already, ma. Okay? Then do you need to care about housing? Okay, if you have a house already, then don't need to lah. Okay, so technically you don't need housing in your inflation. Then where do you get this inflation rate? So I ask them lah. So where do you get the inflation rate? The person of course confirm don't know lah, just blur lah, or don't know even what you're saying lah. Okay, but the person just blur, right? Now you say government also very smart, right? They have their Department of Statistics, right? Their Ministry of Trade and Industry, they have their Department of Statistics, right? So they know what is the inflation for retirees. How do they know? You must look at retirement-based things, right? Which is CPF Life or your retirement account, then the basic retirement sum. How much is it? If last year is 106.5 thousand, this year is 110.2 thousand. This increment is the inflation rate lah. They are basically to give you basic expenses, right? Your basic expenses pay out every month. So this is inflation rate lah. So you take the difference, the rate difference lah, which you realize is quite a steady 3.4-3.5% every year. Okay, so inflation rate for these basic needs that a retiree needs to use or a TPD person needs to use, 3.5. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay. So firstly, based on this person, let's calculate the expenses method. Okay, this will be the formula. Okay, this is the example that I mentioned just now. Okay, if you take, let's say you want to mimic, you take into account inflation. Okay, you want to mimic, let's say mimic inflation. Like you want to ensure that you have enough to sustain based on inflation. Okay, that's why technically you're trying to mimic the inflation growth, but at the same time, just now mentioned by Elijah, fixed Z or investment returns is 2.5%. Yeah, so in this case, does my inflation beat my investments FD returns? Does it beat? Inflation is 3.5. Fixed Z return is 2.5%. Exactly. Obviously, it doesn't beat. So does that mean that I'll need more money in the future, or then less money?
No.
Yes, exactly. More money. And if you look at the math, right, 3.5 minus 2.5 is a positive or negative number?
Negative.
Positive.
Positive.
3.5 minus 2.5?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Yes.
positive.
Positive number.
Yeah.
Okay, it makes sense. Means that if I have a positive rate, means that the amount that you calculate, just not the Excel sheet you show, right, it will grow. And in relation to what you just said, we need more money in the future because we don't beat inflation. Yeah. So in terms of math, it works out.
Yes.
Yeah. So
The final value is your future cash flows add together, ma. So you need a positive number to have more money, ma. So you need a $1.3 million now to mimic this cash flow in the future. Your expenses that has been inflated.
conversely, if let's say my fixed D returns were like 4%, I beat inflation by 0.5%, then you realize that this number will be negative. If the number is negative, and you calculate negative every single year, you realize that you will need less money because of big inflation. Yeah. So
Okay, so one way to actually see this number, right? 55 years times 18,000. 55 years times 18,000 is 990,000. Okay, my math good. Okay, 990,000. So 990,000, right? Okay, you will realize that because I lose 1% to inflation every year, I need more money now, right, to generate my cash flows, right? Therefore, I need more than 990,000. But if my rate is actually 3.5% minus 4%, then you realize that it will be less than what you need now is less than 990,000 because you can actually generate more and faster than inflation, which will maybe be about 900,000, 800 plus thousand. Okay? 可以吗？
Okay. Then income method. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Before that, sorry. No, it's fine. Sorry. Okay. So your expense method, right? Okay, now this is final value because I am inflating my cash flows that I'm going to create, right? I'm inflating the cash flows. I change this formula to PV right now. What I need now, the lump sum that I need now, right? If I change to PV, what change to the numbers must you do? I change to present value now. My rates I just swap around so 2.5 minus 3.5 lor. You will end up, getting the same number. You can go and try on Excel lah. Okay, just switch number around. Okay, because I need my present. In this case, it will be my returns, my investment returns minus the inflation. Yeah. Okay, but of course this logic you have to self-internalize one. Yeah. Okay, can.
Okay. Yeah, then the 55, want to understand how we get 55 from? Expenses means my anchor is my years to mortality. Okay, or in this case I take the life expectancy of 85. That's why at age 30 there's 55 more years until mortality. So I take 55. And then your yearly expense. Yearly expense must be negative. Okay, because it's money leaving your pocket. Okay, take note. Okay? Yeah. Now income method. Okay, for simplicity, we assume that wage increment versus inflation. That is very, very straightforward. It's just your 5,012, which is your yearly income, multiplied by your years to retirement. Okay, so far? Yeah. So you realize that these two numbers they create the sliding range. Yeah. So this is a sliding range. Then you present these two numbers, and then you can say, oh, do you want to cover more on current standard of living? That means closer to how much you earn now, to the higher number, or something that's more basic. So you can set a sliding range and see where they are comfortable. Yeah. These are two numbers that you base how much your client should be covered for. DBD, BEF, and CI. Can? So far?
So what happens if the event, right, that your expense method is more than the number of income than the income method?
What?
Okay.
What happens if expense method number is bigger than income method? Because this is the amount of sum assured that you need.
You put the other side lah.
Huh? No lah.
So like tell them it's fight lah.
I mean, yes, you can do that, but there must be a reason why your expense method is more than the income method.
There must be a reason why.
Yeah.
Their desired lah, expense they feel that increase
It means okay.
Or they don't have any.
Income should be more than
Or they don't have
expense. Or what
any-
expense
No.
more than
The
income?
reason why it can be more, right, expense method can be more than income method is because if you are spending a lot, right, and because the expense method number of years is 55, your income method number of years is 35.
Yeah,
It can be a
actually,
case
I'm also
whereby-
wondering, retirement age is 65, why is it 55 over there? Why not 65?
No, because expense method is until death, what. You retire already, you still must have expense, what.
Oh, but why there put 55, the formula?
85 minus 30 years old, ma. 30 years
Oh,
old, ma.
85 minus 50, oh, okay.
Hmm.
The reason for the difference, right? See here 55, but here they use 35. Because expenses, you want to cover until you pass away, right? And you'll be spending that basic expense all the way until you expire. But income, you will not be making the income all the way until you expire, you retire, right?
But the thing is, right, then people will ask, right, like, after I retire, right, my expenses will be different. Like, at least I don't need to travel out, I don't need to eat outside, I don't know, like something like this, then the expenses will drop.
Possible, right? So that's later on
Then
during.
this formula will
That's why.
actually is expecting like now my expenses is the same until I retire.
Yeah, can. So if you want to adjust to that, right, then you must really know how to use every formula. Must really know how to use that. Okay, you can put every 20, right, which is the last 20 years of your retirement,
多少 formula
then you
lah.
then
Then
divide.
after retirement.
Then after you just divide by 1.035 to the power of 35. You know, then just minus. But that one is later on. But we just assume it's the same. Assume the expenses are the same. Later, Nick will go through how to go through the retirement expense calculations also for retirees lah. Okay. But this is for now, at least for fresh grads. This is the easiest, fastest, and the most simple way to understand.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, but what happened, right, if that your expense method is more than your income method, sum assured requirement. Because it is possible, if my expense is 30,000, if my expense is 30,000, I'll be very close to 2 million. Right? If my expense is 30,000, which is 2.5k per month, it's very, 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 very close to 2 million. So my range will be 2 million to 2.1. But if my expense is 36,000, if my expense is 36,000 per year, which is 3,000 per month, right? Out of my 5k income, I spend 3,000 per month, right? My expense method is 2.6 million. It's more than my income method. So what does this mean?
Each person spend more.
Than what he should be spending.
Yeah, correct.
Okay? The person is overspending usually. It's quite a good indicator. I mean, math is just simple math. Because remember, your income, right, you earn 5k, you spend 3k, then your 2k you save for what? Is it enough to even save for your future expenses, your retirement income or your retirement expenses? Is it even enough? When you're spending 3k now? It's probably not lah. Okay? Yeah. Okay? Okay, numbers have the logic one. If you really understand it right, you explain to your clients will blur, okay? But at least your clients will be very convinced that you know your stuff. Okay. Yeah. Okay, but for math people, right, they really appreciate this.
Oh,
If,
this is accounting, this is not math.
no, this is just simple, it's finance 101. Finance 101. Yeah. But it's really applying what you learn in university or your finance 101 into advisory. Because even finance students, they don't know why we are even using this formula or what. When you explain it, oh wow, yeah, what I learned in school actually is being used now this way. Yeah, okay, it makes sense lah. Yeah. Of course, if you are dealing with really very normal people, they are not very appreciative of this kind of math. You show them, they may not understand, but they know that you know your stuff lah. You can explain well lah. Okay. Yeah. So it's always a win. It's always a good thing to know this, because for people who understand this, you can explain this, they appreciate a lot. They confirm buy from you one. Okay? But if you explain to somebody you don't understand, don't know, they will still be very convinced that you know. So it's still always good to, learn this lah. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so the last part will be on retirement income.
You need brain break for a while now.
Yes.
Okay, brain break first. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks. I mean, good job, Nicholas.